All right. So firstly, welcome everybody. It's great to have the opportunity to meet all together like this, even though we can't be together in the way we would like to be. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the original custodians of the lands that we meet from all of our various locations. Pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Of course, welcome any people of our First Nations that might be with us today. So I know that there's some really significant people from across the sector here today, so it's fantastic to have you. So I'd just like to introduce the people that I'm aware of, and please let me know if I leave anyone out, Kate, because I've got the list. I hope it's the most up-to-date list. So I've got Di Everingham, Penny, Bingham and Lorna Nash from Changing Minds Beechworth. So do you three just want to sort of say hi?
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi, nice to see you. Well, then I know who I'm speaking to. Dr. Brent Corcoran from the Beechworth Surgery. Hi, Brent. How you doing? Dr. Clare Dickson from Cognitive Dementia and Memory Service.
Hello.
Hi, Claire. Lovely to meet you. Sharee Donegan from Upper Mount Murray Family Care. Hi, Sharee. How are you? And Peta, Cherubin and Laura Humphris from Carer Gateway.
Hi.
And oh, there's Laura. So, of course, I'm looking at a screen where you're all over the place and in different order to what you're seeing each other. So, yeah, as I said, I really want to welcome you and both experts and people who have come to get information. Indigo Shire is very committed to this whole process of being a dementia-friendly community, and a lot of our services are working very hard to make that happen. And I really want to thank Kate, who I know you would all know. Kate's doing an amazing job, and we're very fortunate to have her both as part of our council, but also as part of our community. So, Kate, I really want to, thank you personally for the amazing work you're doing. I get great feedback from people.
Thank you.
I know you've all submitted questions, or some people have submitted questions. So, Kate, at this point, do you want me to chair the questioning, or are you going to do that?
So, I think I'd like to, I'll put all the questions in chat in case anyone needs to refer to them or go back to them.
Yeah.
But it'd be great to get a little introduction from all of the panellists about what it is you do. So maybe we'll start with the Changing Minds Carer Support Group.
Okay, that's a great idea. Let's hear from each one of you. Thank you.
Lorna, you go first.
Okay. Hello. Well, my name is Lorna Nash, and I have been part of the Changing Minds Carer Support Group since its inception since 2015. And it was my husband, Michael, had died 9 months previous to that, after a diagnosis of primary progressive aphasia 4 years earlier. But I had been aware of the changes for 12 years. And it was not until he was in care that I met one other lady whose husband had dementia. And we used to meet for coffee, and it was her friendship that brought home to me the importance of meeting others in a similar situation and the power of that combined knowledge. So when Anna McKinley asked if I was prepared to help set up the group, it was an unhesitated yes. So having had a training as an occupational therapist, I knew roughly what to expect, but nothing would have prepared me for the challenges of his final 2 years. That's me.
Would you like me to go next?
Yep.
Sorry, I'm Di Everingham, and I came to Beechworth 7 years ago. I came with my mother and my husband. My mother was elderly, and my husband, who had Parkinson's with Lewy body dementia, and they were both in Acacias, and it was Di Walters who put me on to Changing Minds, and they were the most enormous support for me. It was so nice to be able to speak to people who had been going through similar situations. And I just enjoyed the company of the people so much, I decided to stay with the group. So here I am today. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Di. I'm Penny Bingham. I was a family carer for 7 years. My husband had Lewy body dementia. Along with Lorna, I was a member of the reference group for Changing Minds in 2015. I subsequently became a dementia educator for Dementia Australia and studied dementia care through the University of Tasmania. Along with Di, I found the carers support group enormously beneficial from a whole range of levels, but I also was new to the area. Sorry, excuse my cat's tail. I was also new to the area and feeling very, very isolated. And the Beechworth group really seriously turned my life around.
Thanks, Penny, Diane, Lorna. Looks like Jenny's having some internet trouble, so I'm happy to help out there. Perhaps if we could hear from Dr. Brent Corcoran.
Hi, so yeah, my name's Brent. I work at the surgery here in Beechworth and have for the past 5 years as a GP. So my experience with dementia is more professionally than personally. And I think it's so wonderful to hear the different perspectives from everyone today, particularly from carers, because I think that's often what we don't hear or see as much of. In the clinic, we're often focused on the patient and they're trying to help them, but that's not necessarily get to help the carers as much. I think this group's fantastic in what it does for people, because carers do so much beyond what we could even imagine, I think. And so it's, yeah, good to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Brent. Sharee, would you like to explain what your role is?
So I work with Upper Murray Family Care in Wodonga, and the program that I'm part of is Aged and Disability Support Services, and my particular section of that is support options. So we have funding for support for carers, as well as Commonwealth Home Support funding. So we sit a little bit outside of the other systems in that we're short-term funding and we fill gaps. So perhaps somebody may be on a home care package, and for whatever reason the package is expended or there's additional support needs, we can step in to provide funding for support. And that can include anything like respite in the home or out of the home, home maintenance, domestic assistance, shopping assistance, funding for aids and equipment. We do a lot of information support and referral. So just an example, we had a carer who was caring for a loved one living with dementia, extremely stressed yesterday. And so he did an office visit and we were able to work through what the next steps he needed to take with MAC registration and contacting Dementia Australia, that he just felt he couldn't do alone. So it's that sort of thing that we help with. We have about 5 support groups, not about, that we run across our region. One is in Indigo in Chiltern, and that's a general support group, but with 4 of those people are carers for somebody living with dementia. So yeah, it's a lot about support. So just another example, one of the things we're doing at the moment, carers are feeling extremely isolated just with this COVID stuff. So, and not able to come to the support groups in person. So we're doing Zoom stuff. We're just making regular phone calls to carers, just checking on how they're going. So that in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we do.
Thanks, Sharee. Claire, Dr. Claire Dickson, if you wouldn't mind explaining your role.
Thank you for that.
So I am one of the 2 neuropsychologists at the memory clinic here in Wangaratta. So our role is to assist GPs in reaching a diagnosis of dementia in the relatively early stages. And yeah, so sorry, we've got the gardeners here too, just so hopefully that's not coming through right outside my window. So.
Thank you. And Laura and Peta, there you are, just finding you on the screen. Did you also have a short PowerPoint you want to put up? Do you have screen sharing permission?
I do have a presentation if you'd like me to share it. I do not know if I have permission, but would you like us to give it a try now?
You can, if it'll let you share the screen, absolutely. You can sure. Put that on in the...
My slideshow is about 13 slides, but I might just show you some of it. I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time.
That's okay. And if you want to explain briefly what you do as well, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. So hi, everyone. My name's Laura. I'm one of the team leaders at the Carer Gateway program. So I actually work for an organisation called Uniting, and we deliver the Carer Gateway across a few regions of Victoria, including what we refer to as Goulburn North East, the Hume area, especially including the Indigo Shire. So we're supporting all types of carers, especially those looking after someone with a dementia diagnosis. So I have a slideshow that I can share with you guys to tell you a little bit about the Carer Gateway. So we'll see how we go. Okay, can everyone see what I'm sharing?
Yep.
Yeah, amazing. Okay. Okay, so the Carer Gateway program is a recently developed program. It's actually funded by the federal government. It's available to carers all across Australia. So I'm just going to begin with a brief introduction of what is a carer. A carer is a person who provides unpaid care and support to a family member or friend with a disability, mental illness, chronic health issue, or age-related condition. Becoming a carer can be gradual, or it can happen suddenly due to accident or illness. So the Carer Gateway is actually here to support carers at all stages of the caring journey. All caring situations are different. Some carers look after another person 24 hours a day and help with daily living tasks, while other carers look after people for a few hours to help with everyday things. So what is the Carer Gateway? The Carer Gateway is a national initiative funded by the Australian government via the Department of Social Services. So the Carer Gateway website is a primary source of clear, practical advice and information to help carers with the challenges of their role. I'd suggest to everyone who's perhaps apprehensive about registering with the Carer Gateway should check out the website beforehand. It in itself is a really valuable resource of knowledge and information. It's a great place to start. And just so everyone is clear on how the Carer Gateway is delivered, in Victoria, a consortium of 7 providers led by Mary Health deliver the Carer Gateway services. This group includes Alfred Health, Ballarat, Barwon Health, Indigo Healthcare Group, Family Care, and Uniting. So the carer is at the centre of this program. Carer Gateway was actually co-designed with carers to make sure the service centres around carers. So our main principles are early intervention before carers reach crisis point, providing a consistent and accessible service experience, providing a number of contact methods to suit the carer, either online, telephone, and eventually in person, and supports and services that aim to improve carers' overall quality of life. So what services are available? So the Carer Gateway service via the national 1800 number includes carer support planning, carer directed support, which may include planned respite, including in a facility or in the home, or carer-directed support also encompasses practical support such as equipment and support around the home, such as domestic assistance, counselling, in-person peer support, emergency respite, and also information and advice. And in a nutshell, that means if you call the 1-800 number, you will be referred to one of our assessment and planning officers who will have a conversation with you about your caring role, and they will discuss with you what services may be available to you out of these types of services. So that's what you know, what's potentially available and what to expect. But via the website, there are also several services available to you, all for free. So there's online peer support, phone counselling, online coaching, online skills courses, and educational materials and resources. So the next few slides explain in more detail about these particular service types. I'm thinking I might share the slides with you all and you can have a read of them in your own time. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, that'd be great, Laura, and I can send them out to everyone who's attended afterwards as well.
Amazing. So you can go back and have a look at this in more detail about these particular service types, especially carer-directed support, respite, counselling, in-person, in-person peer support, all really, really valuable services that I encourage you to learn about. Sorry, I think I'm having a bit of interference. I hope everyone can hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you well.
It's okay.
Amazing. Okay, I just wanted to share this really quick case study with you so you can get an idea of what type of services are available to carers. So in this case study, Robert's mother, Lucy, lives alone and she has a diagnosis of dementia. In recent years, Robert has been able to visit Lucy once a week to assist her with jobs around the house and taking her to the supermarket. Recently, Robert has noticed that Lucy is struggling to keep on top of things at home. Robert works full-time and he has a young family of his own, so he cannot visit his mum more often during the week. Robert contacted the Carer Gateway to seek government assistance in the care for his mum. So via an assessment and planning officer and via our carer support planning, the Carer Gateway was able to assist with the following services. So we provided 3 home care shifts, so domestic assistance shifts over 3 fortnights, and this support was actually provided to Lucy. So this offered Lucy regular contact with a carer who was able to do sort of an informal check-in on her welfare when Robert couldn't. So that service really has 2 benefits. We also provided a respite shift to assist Lucy in getting to the supermarket to free up Robert's time on the weekend to spend quality time with her. We facilitated a referral for Lucy to My Aged Care to link her with longer term home care packages. And we made sure that Robert understood how that system worked, and so he knew what to expect and what to look out for. We also linked Robert to a dementia support group for people caring for the parents living with dementia so that he could meet other carers going through a similar experience. So as you can see, the Carer Gateway really provides a holistic range of services to meet a whole range of carers' needs. So how do you get in contact with the Carer Gateway? There are 2 main ways. Number 1 would be to call this national number. So you can reach your local Carer Gateway service provider. That will go through to what we refer to as the intake team, who will collect all of your details in about a 10-minute phone call, and then your information will be passed on to the partner in your area who will get in contact with you to move forward with the process. There's also contact available via the Carer Gateway National website.
Great. Thanks.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, good.
And I would just like quickly like to introduce Peta. She's one of our assessment and planning officers, and she's actually based locally in the area. If you just wanted to quickly introduce yourself, Peta.
Hi, my name's Peta. I work in the Wangaratta office for Uniting with the Care Gateway, but I am actually from Beechworth myself. So I think I've already seen a few familiar faces from around town. Feel free to contact myself or Laura if there's any more information you want to know about the Care Gateway.
Thank you. Great. So now that we've got a better idea who everyone is, we can move on to looking at the Q&A part of the session. I've popped everyone on mute, so just be aware of that. Might need to take yourself off there. But we had a question from Lorna for Dr. Clare Dickson and Dr. Brent Corcoran. So perhaps, did you want to start with that, Lorna? You'll just need to unmute because I've muted you.
Kate, oh, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Shall I? Okay. So my question was for Dr. Clare Dickson and Brent Corcoran. That I was amongst some friends a while ago, and a gentleman asked me if I thought that somebody who had dementia, I would tell them. And I said, absolutely no, absolutely no. And this was reiterated by his wife, but he said, well, I would. And I just wondered, is this, from your professional perspective, which of us were right? Is this a gender thing that women are not as forthright as gentlemen, or is this always such a difficult problem to approach? Sorry.
Yes, I'm not sure there is a right answer. I suppose it would depend on the nature of the relationship and the level of insight you felt the person had. But I guess I probably wouldn't, I mean, dementia is a diagnosis, so I probably wouldn't be telling somebody that I thought they had dementia. Perhaps if the relationship was a close one, you could use I statements to talk about more the symptoms that you've noticed, like I've noticed that you appear to be having a little bit of trouble remembering when we, organised a catch up, and then I guess putting it back to the person of, what are your thoughts on that? Are you worried? Have you noticed anything? So that would be my sort of way of going about it, if it was the sort of relationship where you did feel that you wanted to approach it. But I don't know what you think, Brent.
Yes, I agree. It's very individual, and every relationship can be different. And I think it's good to try and people can be very self-conscious. Sometimes they are aware that they might be having some memory difficulties, and be trying to hide that or be self-conscious about that. So in the early stages particularly, and it can make it very hard for us to notice. So we do appreciate when family actually, who might be the first people to actually notice changes, to make that aware to us, because often a patient won't. And we're always happy to hear from family directly in a consultation with the person in question, or in written form even, to help us be more clued into that, because it can be something subtle and hidden from us quite easily. So I think there's no right answer probably to that question. Maybe men are potentially more forthright, like you said, Lorna, but I don't think it's a gender thing necessarily. I think everyone's personalities are a bit different. So it's
going back to my own. Sorry, I don't know whether I'm on. I'm still on speaker. Going back to my personal experience, my husband was a very dominant character and was, a managing director all around the world. So I didn't feel I could tap him on the shoulder and say, listen here, things are going wrong. And it wasn't until he actually said, what the hell's happening to my speech, that I was able to say, well, can we do something, shall we do something about it? I'd know, you know, let's do something about it together. So that's how I did it. But I'd noticed changes for 12 years before that actually happened. So that's really quite pertinent to me, that sort of question. And by the time he did get a diagnosis, he was very well advanced in his dementia, as you can see. Yeah. So, and I do appreciate you saying that it's appropriate for the family and the carers to talk to yourselves, the doctors, about it, because we found that really difficult. I found the doctors would not listen to me, particularly because he was very dominant and could also present really well to his own doctor. So it tended to turn around that I was the one who was whinging and complaining about this thing, whereas he was perfectly capable. And my son even spoke to my doctor too, but she rather put it down to, you know, as doctor confidentiality. So that bringing that to the forefront was quite difficult for me. So I appreciate you saying that you should listen to the carers, because I think the carers are the people that doctors do need to listen to. They're the ones with it 24 hours a day. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Brent. It's I don't know.
Thank you.
I think it's good to try and normalise as well that with ageing, everyone develops, like all the organs age, and the brain does too. And I always try and normalise that for people, that it's okay to become a little bit forgetful. Everyone has a degree of mild cognitive impairment as we get older, and yeah, so to try and reduce some of that stigma around dementia, particularly, and the process of assessing for dementia, because that's quite a process that Claire gets obviously involved in, and it's to get someone to agree to even have the initial testing and the neuropsychological testing. It's quite involved and takes a big commitment for the patient and the care and family. So to get them along that path, we really need to try and, I think, normalise that this is okay, that this might help in many different ways.
Yeah,
don't want to necessarily diagnose it, but it can be helpful.
Yeah, and certainly, yeah, we will often say, oh, you know, the tests are designed to pick up whether it is just normal aging, and particularly sometimes with those, you know, more dominant characters or high achievers, we'll almost frame it as an opportunity for them to prove that it is just normal aging, and sometimes that will help to engage them in the testing. So yeah, but it's tricky, it is, and we always you know, speak to the carers, and but without really being able to assess the person, you know, sometimes things do stall, as in your case, Lorna.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorna. Did you want to ask the second? Oh, sorry, Denise.
Sorry, Kate. Could I just say hello to everybody? I'm from Dementia Australia, and I'm sort of not on the forum, but I'm sitting to the side. And I'm more than happy if you'd like to ask me some questions, but I'm doing lots of nodding, which you might be able to see me doing, and I was just itching to jump in there. Look, I agree with everything that Claire and Brent are saying, and Lorna, I'm hearing what you're saying about the carers. I think that's really, really important that GPs, medical professionals do listen to the carers. In regards to, you know, talking about dementia, I think, again, it's that level of insight, what the person with a diagnosis who doesn't have a diagnosis, but how much insight do they know? If they're saying, oh, look, I've noticed, you know, my speech, like you were saying, Lorna, then yes, you can have a conversation, but sometimes some people just, you know, they don't believe that they have a problem, and that's where the real issue lies, I think, and especially with the GPs, because they go to the doctor, and you know, the GP may even realise that something's wrong, but talking to the carer and finding out what else is happening at home, and you know, how are the people managing at home, it's really important to have that conversation, to listen to both But yeah, it's a tricky one when it comes to confidentiality. I understand that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thanks, Denise, for
Yeah,
jumping in.
so-
I think you've answered that second question there quite well as well.
Yes.
So Lorna or Penny or Di, I'm not sure if one of you wanted to address the next question to Sharee, Laura and Peta around what we can do for people with dementia. Oh.
Shall I go? Penny, can you do that, or would Di like to do it? I can do
We'll
it.
just have to get you off mute. Sorry, Penny, you're just still on mute. You'll just need to click it off there. There we are.
Sorry, which question are we looking at, Kate? I'm sorry, number 2.
Sorry, it's slightly awkward. In the chat, if you have a look, there's one that's addressed to Sharee.
Number two, right.
Number 2.
From my personal experience, at the time of diagnosis by a neurologist, and my question to him was, what can we do? And, you know, you're in sort of a state, even though I was aware that there was stuff going on, when you're actually confronted with the word, you're in a state of shock, basically. So my question was, what can we do? My question implied, what can we do to delay the progress of the disease, and what can we do to maintain quality of life? But my words were, what can we do? And his answer to me was nothing. He didn't elaborate. He didn't put nothing in a sentence. It was just nothing. So I think from my perspective, at the time of diagnosis, the clinician, the medical person has a responsibility to be supportive of both the person with the diagnosis and the carer. And we didn't get that support. We left, we paid a rather hefty bill as we left the reception area, and there was no follow-up. And I had no experience with dementia. I'd never heard of Lewy body dementia, and really very little medical knowledge beyond stick a Band-Aid on your finger when you cut it. So I just felt as though we were totally cast adrift. So I think there's an obligation and a responsibility on the part of the medical people to link the family, the carer and the person in with a support package of some sort of holistic support package. That at the time I was angry, and I remain angry about that because we were really sold short.
I don't know if I wouldn't mind just addressing that from our perspective. So CADMS is a government sort of free service, so we're not private medical professionals, and certainly even though we're not funded to provide ongoing support, we have a family meeting where we do discuss the diagnosis, and we always offer to refer to Dementia Australia, and also to My Aged Care for home care packages and things like that. So I'm really sorry that was your experience, Penny. That certainly sounds less than ideal.
That was less than ideal, Claire. I was handed a piece of paper with the name of the dementia written on it, and that was it. In some regards, he did me a favour because I left thinking this isn't adequate. I've got to know what we're dealing with, and I went on my own search for that, which took me to the University of Tasmania and their Understanding Dementia MOOC, and subsequently I enrolled in their Bachelor of Dementia Care. But not everybody has the resourcefulness to be able to follow through to that extent. From a whole range of reasons, emotionally, from a professional and educational background, and I don't mean that to sound demeaning in any way. The reality is that not everybody has the resourcefulness to search independently for the knowledge and the support that they require.
Yeah, there's absolutely a responsibility on the person, providing the diagnosis to make sure people are at the very least aware where they can get further support.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the professional in that situation to, I just would have thought that we could have been directed to some sort of holistic support package, or at least told that we needed to look for physio, speech therapy, OT, you know, any of those professional services that really were required. Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry,
I would
Lorna?
like to jump in. I guess this sort of question is directed at myself and Peter and Sharee. I'd like to mention, so when carers register with the Carer Gateway, the first step in the process is actually to complete a Carer Star. It is technically an assessment, but we like to refer to it as a conversation. And one of the sections in that conversation is actually the caring role, which involves the type of questions. Do you feel that you've been given adequate information about the diagnosis of the person you care for? And do you feel that you need more information on that? Do you actually feel that you know how to care for this person with their new diagnosis? And it's those type of questions that lead us to know which sort of services are appropriate to link that person into, so that they have the skills and the knowledge to do what they need to do. That's one of the really great things about our program, is our assessment was actually created with carers in collaboration to make sure that we're actually asking things that are relevant to them and making sure that we're just providing them with information that's relevant to them.
It's really heartening, Laura, to know that the care is being put front and centre. And I need, as an addendum, I need to say that my first level of support came from Sharee and Upper Murray. I remember you sitting at our dining room table, Sharee, and offering some opportunities to engage and respite. Upper Murray provided respite for me to be able to go to the Changing Minds meetings once a month on Wednesdays. So yeah, that was where our first support came from.
Excuse me, can I say something? When we first came down to Beechworth, I was very fortunate. I had a particularly good doctor, and he pointed me in the direction and often made the phone calls to the people I needed for Mark's Lewy body. Now, people have said to me, oh, you were very lucky. And I've said, I know I was very lucky, but next week it'll be 5 years since Mark died. And I've noticed how the assistance has grown. All these different support groups have come to the fore since he died. And I think it is just wonderful. And hopefully it will make a huge difference to people. And the other thing from our carers group, at one stage we wondered if there could be a dementia nurse that maybe moved around the different towns to take some of the load off the doctor, because he obviously hasn't got a lot of time to sort of spend hours. But he or she could then point the carer in the direction of these services, just to make it a bit easier, because your mind, you're so tired, you're just not thinking clearly. And it seems that, well, I know with me, it has taken me a long time just to not feel tired and get things in perspective. I don't know if that helps, but I know if you go to the doctor, there's a dietitian and there's all these different people. And I just felt that a dementia nurse could help the doctors. Yeah, in all towns.
Di.
I mean, not in the one town, in all towns, yeah.
So that's probably a really good lead in to look at the third question, even if we just move on to kind of, I guess, asking the panel, like, from your own perspectives, what do you see as a need for the future options to help both carers and those diagnosed with the disease of dementia? Who'd like to answer that one? Or if you do have an opinion on what more we need.
I think we need to work on breaking down stigma. And from my perspective, the first step around that is focusing on the language we use around the disease. I personally I'm quite sensitive about people using the term dementia in a trivial way. It's far too serious a disease for us to be trivial about. And I will speak out about that. If I hear people being trivial about it, I will speak out about it, because I think that needs to be our first step. Getting rid of terms like demented, which is so demeaning. So I think those of us who are aware and have experience of the disease, either professionally or personally, need to be very, very strong advocates, and we need to be vocal around this stuff.
Thanks, Penny.
One of the things that I think is really important is in the community, there are so many people in caring roles who don't actually identify themselves as carers. And, they see themselves as a husband or wife or son, daughter, but they're not actually accessing the support they need because they don't actually identify that they're in a caring role and there is support available. I think that's one thing. And the other is actually male carers who are so underrepresented in seeking support. So it's about ways of capturing those two groups because there is support there.
Sharee, do you have any opinions on how we can actually do that? How we can persuade carers to accept help sooner?
Well, I think it's really just an exposure thing, to be honest. Like Denise and I last year did some we did a radio show and talked about dementia and talked about those specific groups. So I think it's actually getting that message out there. Are you a carer? You may not identify as one, but you actually are, and there is help available. So I think it's just that infiltration of media, hearing carers' stories in media. I think that's really valuable. They're the real gaps I see at the moment. And it was interesting, Denise, from that radio program that we did have people ringing in who had not identified themselves as carers and are now getting support that they needed, directed to the Gateway or to Dementia Australia, or we've done stuff with them. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, it is educating the general public, letting them know what is available, but it's also about, I've done a lot of, I think I've done a lot of work since I've been in this position around the Upper Hume area in particular. It's about we getting out also and meeting organisations and telling organisations what we're able to do. So we do run a men's care for the caring role, a men's group only, which we ran in conjunction with Upper Murray Family Care, and it's very successful. So it's specifically for male carers, but not everybody knows about that either. So it's about letting people know what's on our website, what's available, that education. We have a good relationship with Cadams, Wodonga, Albury and Wangaratta. So again, if Cadams know what we're doing, then we get most of our referrals come from Cadams, from the Cadams clinics. And if they know what we're doing, which they do, they'll pass on our information and refer to Dementia Australia. And in turn, we work with other services like Upper Murray Family Care and Carer Gateway.
I wanted to mention, I feel like there's a bit of an apprehension for carers to ask for help. Even if they do acknowledge that they're in a caring role, it's perhaps programs in the past, they feel like they have to justify why they're asking for support or provide information about like the amount of hours that they're actually caring. And I think that can be quite scary, and people feel like they might not be eligible for help. I think we just need to increase the awareness in the community that carer supports are for all carers in all caring roles.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too is, and Di and Lorna and Penny all talked about it, is the absolute value of people joining support groups, because it really empowers people, it informs people. So often we hear, I felt really isolated. I just thought I was on my own. It's so good to be part of where people understand what I'm going through. They're just so valuable.
Thank you. It sounds like, you know, kind of gone a ways to answering. There was a question put in there about how we can prevent those diagnosed and their carers from hiding from society in a state of denial. And I think, you know, you've touched on that, and it's really about that exposure and the conversations and getting out there and talking about it and challenging the stigma there. So hopefully that's something the Indigo Community Dementia Alliance, you know, can work on more. So we'll keep plugging away with that one. We've got some questions actually in from Tony and Claire Pitcher, who are here today. Tony, did you want to read it out, or would you like me to read it out?
I'm happy for you to read it out.
No problems.
Thanks, Kate.
Sure. So I'll just preface it. So Tony's written in that his wife Claire has younger onset dementia, and we were wondering if you could provide information in regards to the following. What are the best strategies Claire can use to help her reduce her frustrations with the following scenarios? When she goes from one room to another looking for something and then forgets why she has gone into that room. For example, when looking for a hairbrush, she'll go to the bathroom, and when she gets her, forget what she's there for and ends up brushing her teeth. When she puts things down somewhere and can't remember where she's put them. For example, when she works in the garden and puts her secateurs down and then she wastes time wandering around looking for them. So would anyone like to offer any strategies around especially the frustration, Claire? Is that?
Me walking around in circles.
I think it's a universal problem, and it presents differently for each person with dementia. And no, Tony, I don't have any answers to that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just wondered if anybody had any strategies, because I know it does get frustrating for Claire, and I suppose also frustrating for me just having to say the same things to Claire all the time. And yeah, I just thought if someone's got any strategies, that'd be great if they could pass on that information.
Yeah, Tony, there's a few that you probably already are doing, and some of those could be picture prompts, or sometimes taking cupboard doors off so you can actually see what's in the cupboard.
Okay.
Yep. So you know, it's there, it's visual.
Yeah.
Some people, and putting things in the same place all the time, like you know, I forget where I put my keys sometimes, but I know if I put them up where they belong, I know that's where I can get them from. So things like that. And the frustration, it's very hard to deal with sometimes. You know, it's okay to have a yell and swear and stomp your feet. It's okay to do that sometimes, as long as it's not all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think we do that at all.
No.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So yes, using some of those prompts, maybe clearing some things out as well. Maybe there's too much stuff there to find the brush, for example. You might leave it out on your cabinet so that when you walk in, it's always there. It's like a toothbrush. You know, it's on top of, maybe on top of your sink in your bathroom. So those visual prompts.
I've just actually today or yesterday started to clean out my bedroom because I thought it's springtime, I need to declutter and clean. And I just cleared off the top of my tall boy and rearranged everything. And it's funny, it just opens everything up and you feel like it flows and you can, know where things are a lot better.
Yeah, not so much clutter. That's good. And labelling things sometimes too can help.
Because we do have the tile. I don't know if anybody has heard of that, where you can attach it to the car keys or to Claire's wallet, and you hit the button and it plays a little tune so you know where it is.
Yeah. You could do that with your secateurs.
Yeah. Yeah. True. No, that's good information. Thanks for that.
Oh, thank
No
you.
worries.
And this next one might be better targeted to Brent or to maybe Claire Dickson there. And if you wanted, sorry, Brent, I think you were just about to say something as well.
I might be the same. Anyway, I was going to say, because carer stress is a real thing, we see it, and in all carers at different points. And I think that can come from those little frustrations that build up, and if they're bottled up and not discussed, I think it's really good to talk to each other about those little things and sometimes find some ways through them and to have a laugh at it, because it's it's going to happen. It's try not to let it become a frustration and don't try not to let it become a stress.
It's good.
Thank you. So the next question from Tony is around saying they've been advised to apply for some NDIS, National Disability Insurance Scheme support. Should they make an appointment with their GP? What kind of information do they need to take to their GP? And if it was going to take a long time to get in to see their regular GP, is it okay just to go and see any GP? And I guess around what are the main types of support? I'm not sure if you mean through NDIS or through.
Yeah, mainly through NDIS. Yeah, sort of like, I know that it's there, but I don't know what support they can provide to Claire or to myself, what sort of financial support they can provide.
Have you visited the local area coordinator in Wangaratta or Wodonga firstly about NDIS?
No, I don't know who they.
That may be one of the first points, but somebody else might like to contribute there as well.
I will just mention, when it comes to the local area coordinators, you can actually search on the NDIS website, put in your suburb, and it will come up with a list of the closest ones. So that would be a suggestion, certainly, because that will find you the local person, and the local area coordinators are there to help guide you through that application process and can help you figure out what kinds of things you might need from doctors and so forth in that application process.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So there's a application form essentially that you get from the NDIS or NDIA, I think it's called, where you sort of register yourself, ask for this application, and that involves the section that a doctor completes or other health professionals you might have seen as well. So it's normally is best completed by the regular doctor who knows you best, and that's a bit of a process, but that's no one can just access those forms. It has to come, you have to sort of register yourself first, and then they'll give it to you, and it follows on from there. And this does help for people who aren't eligible for the aged care packages, which a similar concept where the needs are assessed, and then a sum of money eventually gets allocated to try and address those needs, because it's so individual. And we've found it's worked really well for many carers for other illnesses and disabilities, to try and get some things like in-home respite and home supports and things that once really weren't an option, but nowadays that is making a huge difference for the younger population. Similar to what the idea is behind the aged care packages and in-home packages, although accessing them is similarly difficult and quite often delayed far too long, but hopefully that's improving. So.
Okay.
Thanks, Brent. I'm just conscious of the time, so I will ask the third question from Tony, but just shorten it slightly. So it's specifically around looking at accessing some personal insurance there, and around, sorry, just let Jenny back in. It's around needing to have a diagnosis of significant cognitive impairment, which means you need to score less than 20 on the test. So at Claire's last test in April last year, you scored over 20. The question really is, can you get reassessed at different stages?
Hello again, Claire and Tony.
Hi, Claire,
How are you?
Good.
Yeah, that's good. So look, I mean, CADMS isn't really resourced to do sort of ongoing assessments past the diagnostic phase, but the test that they're talking about is, just the short sort of one that you had done at the original home visit. So hopefully, there'd be, I'm not sure, Brent, via the GP, practice nurse, even if, district nursing, there would be other professionals who could redo that test for you to submit along with our original diagnosis, to be able to access that support,
Okay.
entitlement. Yeah.
All right, good, thanks. But yeah, it's good to know that there can be a reassessment. Yeah, because I guess that's one thing as a carer, being with Claire all the time, it's difficult to know at what level she's at. Like, I really don't see a lot of difference in Claire's behaviours and that, but over time I've just got used to what her behaviours are like. So it'd be good to get a professional assessment.
Yeah, but I think too, those cognitive assessments are most useful at the early stages at the start to know what's going on. But I think moving forward, it is more about those day-to-day functions that'll tell you how quickly or slowly things are progressing. But I do appreciate that when you're sort of there every day, it's difficult to sort of know what's changing. And yeah.
Thank you.
And just the other thing that we often forget to help people with is just a simple thing with applying for carer payments through Centrelink. It's a simple form as well that needs filling out, but it's often missed and by us as well, by doctors, and often carers might not be aware of. It's a token amount. It's not a lot, but it's a small acknowledgement of the huge amount of hours you do put in that you might be eligible for.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. I'm just conscious that we're hitting 11:30 and there are a few more questions, but what I'll do is I'll reach out to some of the panel members and get some responses to that and send it out along with the recording and the slides after this session. I can see Jenny's managed to sneak back in with your internet connection. If you would like to close up the session for us, Jenny?
Yeah, look, I would, and I'm really sorry. I kept dropping out and not being able to get back in, so I'm feeling extremely frustrated. And I'm very glad I got to be here just for the last part and the first part at least. But look, can I thank you all very much, and I do want to just restate Indigo Shire's commitment as a council to the dementia-friendly community, and thank all of the services that help us to do that, because obviously without your input we wouldn't be able to do that. And I think it does mean that Indigo is hopefully a positive place for people to be, that this journey is not an isolated, lonely journey, as difficult as it is anyway, that people feel that the community is there and is really wanting to support in any way we can. So, very keen to, obviously with your connections through Kate, to for anything that we can do as a local government beyond what we're already doing, please let us know. We are very committed to this. And as I said earlier, we're very fortunate to have Kate who has done such a wonderful job. But, I just want to thank everybody and make sure that the connections that have developed through this are working well. It sounds like this sort of alliance of services and has made a really big.
Yes.
I just thought, just quickly, Kate, back to your question around what would be useful going forward for Indigo Shire. One of the issues that comes up a lot are people not knowing which service to go to for what. So maybe some sort of directory for your Shire around which service to go to for what sort of support might be helpful.
Absolutely, that's on the list for our alliance to get working on that, so we can have something a little pack to put out for either carers or people diagnosed or just people who are wanting more information. So that is in the works. Well, thank you all so much.
Excuse me, do we know how many people in the Shire have dementia?
No, we don't, and I'm not 100% sure whether that's information we can source or not, but that's potentially a conversation with our health services and whether they keep that information and whether it can be shared.
Kate, you may be able to look on the Dementia Australia website to their stats page.
Yeah.
Yeah, or speak to somebody. I'm sure they'd be able to help you there. Thanks,
Denise. That'd be great. Okay.
Quickly add one little thing for Di's earlier question or suggestion about a dementia nurse. We don't have a specific nurse, but our nurses at the clinic have been becoming more involved in all chronic illness care. We've been trying to build that up. So I think it'd be great to involve them next time as well, because so they're aware of the resources that they can help patients with as well, because in terms of care support. So
that'd be great, Brent.
I'll pass all this on, of course, but if there's future meetings, they might like to be involved as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Brent. We try and speak to the practice nurses as well if we get around to the doctors' clinics. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, and feel free to get in contact if you have any more questions that you would like answered, and I can get those responses sent out as well. And thank you all for your time today.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks so much, Kate.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.